CDOT had warnings about a stretch of roadway where a giant pothole opened up 1 week ago, flattening tires for several drivers in I-70. 2 people called 911 to report a problem on the bridge over Morrison Road 24 hours before the road was shut down.
One of those 911 callers reached out to Steve on your side, trying to get word out about anybody else who might have some damage. But Steve, it doesn't really matter always if you try to file a claim with the state to fix the damage, even if they flag them in advance. Your chances really there are slim.
Very slim. For its part, by the way, CDOT says they had no notice of this specific pothole until it started swallowing tires on Friday morning. When they knew is important because Colorado's governmental immunity law protects the state if they didn't have reasonable time to fix a problem. We found thousands of people have tried to make claims against the state in the last few years for potholes, and only a handful have won.
Good morning. It's not an emergency yet, but it could be.
Allison Stoddard called 911 last Thursday morning around 7 a.m. after she swerved out of the way of a chunk of metal in the middle of I-70.
By virtue of its size, I knew it was going to blow out people's tires. It could possibly take a motorcyclist down if they hit that.
The road is coming apart, and there's a giant cable coming up out of the concrete.
She wasn't the only one.
I'd like to report a road hazard on I-70.
Daniel called a few minutes later, also on Thursday morning.
There's a giant chunk missing from the bridge, and there's a huge piece of rebar that's like sticking out.
He says he hit it.
Yeah, I ran over it and hit my undercarriage.
It's important to remember both Daniel and Allison made those calls last Thursday morning.
And also breaking this morning, Brianna is calling a traffic impact alert.
Because this was the news on Friday.
Right, this one dealing with a pothole, Brianna.
It kind of brought out the inner curmudgeon in me. And I immediately picked up the phone and called you to just say, that's not fair.
Allison called Steve on your side to let drivers with damage know that she informed the state about that area 24 hours before.
People shouldn't be held responsible for the financial impact it had on them.
This is where things get tricky. Colorado law shields the government from liability like this unless there is a dangerous condition that has been known to exist. If they feel the state didn't fix a known issue, drivers could file a claim to try to pay for some of their damages. A lot of drivers have. More than 2,200 have filed road damage claims since 2022. Only 6 of those claims were paid out, costing the state a little under $4,000. What's also unclear, if the advance notice would have even helped. CDOT tells us they made basic repairs to some potholes in that area on Thursday, but says a CDOT engineer didn't spot any craters in the road until 7:58 on Friday morning. So CDOT says they had a contractor doing some resurfacing on that area of road overnight, and they say that they didn't notice any problems and neither did an inspector who drove by in the morning. Back to that claims process, by the way. If you feel like you've had damage caused by the state through a pothole, something like this, you can submit a claim form to the state's risk management division, who will launch an independent investigation of this. It has to be filed within 182 days of the loss, and it has to be either mailed or dropped off to the Attorney General's office. I'm Steve Stager. Steve on your side, 9 News.
Steve, I have to ask, it was stated that if it is dangerous, that they will go ahead and they will pay for those damages. Isn't that, I mean, I saw the pothole. It looked very dangerous to me.
It's dangerous in the statute, the way it's written. It says they have to have had reasonable time to make a repair. And a spokesperson I talked to with the risk management division says they usually consider that reasonable time within 48 to 72 hours. So 24 hours may not have been enough. But CDOT, again, for its part, says this appears to be another hole that opened up in an area where they had already done some repairs. It's unclear. CDOT wouldn't tell us whether or not they were responding to those 911 calls when they made those repairs on Thursday. The question is, if they knew about this area, they made some repairs, did this hole just open up randomly the next morning?
Wow. Well, Steve on your side, thank you.
Yep.